What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, and we are kicking off our week 3 previews with a huge SWAC matchup. And we usually wait till Wednesday to start dropping previews, but this one comes on a Thursday night, so we had to go ahead and get it done. 6:30 p.m. Central Time, live on ESPNU. We have the Alabama A&M Bulldogs traveling down to Florida to take on Bethune-Cookman in their SWAC debut. And this is going to be huge for the SWAC East. We did a roundtable yesterday with CFL, HBCU Spotlight, off script. And we got asked about this by one of the listeners about what would happen if Bethune could pull the upset. And the SWAC East would be turned upside down if that upset occurred. And, it's going to be interesting. Bethune making their SWAC debut against the defending spring SWAC champions down in Daytona. And the storylines are plenty in this matchup. A&M coming into the season, huge chip on their shoulder. It's weird for a champion to have such a large chip, but a lot of fans across the SWAC really think Alabama A&M are AKA phony or fake champions, and it doesn't really count because Alcorn didn't play or Jackson State didn't have the squad. They just feel like that all the ingredients were there in the spring to win the title, and it won't happen again. And then you also have the storyline of Akil Glass looking to claim another SWAC Player of the Year, and he kicked it off in just outstanding form in week 1 with a dominating performance against South Carolina State. Now Bethune, like I said, they're making their SWAC debut, but they're looking to rebound from an 0-2 start, even though both of those losses were against FBS teams. They could have won that UTEP game, and then UCF just kind of overpowered them down there in Central Florida. But this is going to be a statement game for Bethune, and like I said, could turn the SWAC East completely upside down. They could start with a huge SWAC win, unlike their MEAC counterparts in FAMU, who both came from the MEAC to join the SWAC this season. And I want to get right into the keys for Alabama A&M, and it's going to be simple, guys. It's exactly what you think it is. It's always going to be 1, protect Akil Glass, and 2, let him do what he does for your offense. Because if the O-line gives him time, he can go out there and win any game on the schedule for the Bulldogs, and it's not even like a conversation. Now, when you look at week 1, Glass lit the world on fire and led the Bulldogs to a huge win over South Carolina State, 426 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and had a rushing touchdown against a secondary that is legit. I feel like people are downplaying what he did, but that secondary is absolutely legit. And on top of that, he showed how he could distribute the ball by hitting 7 different receiving targets in week 1. And he just showed that he improves each and every time he hits the field. And Glass is primed for a huge day. And if you're Alabama A&M and Connell Maynard, who else are you trusting with the ball in their hands in the biggest moment in this SWAC opener? Now, the offensive line for me played extremely well week 1, only allowed 1 sack, and they limited the pressure on Glass consistently throughout the game. Now, it was aided that Glass was quick with his decision-making. He was confident in the pocket, and it just makes it easier for the Alabama A&M O-line. As long as this O-line does their job, this offense is going to work and be able to put up points just about on any defense that they face in any game this season. And, I want to mention, a backup key. The offense becomes so dynamic and so dangerous if Gary Quarles can replicate his performance from week 1, because his ability to find space inside really opened up the field to Glass to pick apart that secondary, gave him high percentage throws, gave him more time in the pocket, and allowed the defense to be honest, which only hurts the defense when you're going up against such a talented quarterback in Akil Glass. When you look at Quarles, over 120 yards rushing, a touchdown in week 1, if he can run for another 100 to 150-yard performance, Bethune is going to have a major problem on their hands. You have to make this team one-dimensional, and you have to stop at least something. If you let the playmakers and the coaching and Akil Glass, all this offense get in rhythm and just kind of open up, you're going to have a long day. Connell Maynard is too good of a play caller. Akil Glass is too good of a quarterback, and they have too many weapons across the board on offense to let them get in rhythm. If they're in rhythm and they're doing what they want, it is going to be a long day, and they're putting 40 to 50 on your head without question, easily. And the key for Bethune, though, is to establish the run and control the time of possession because of multiple reasons. You have to limit possessions for Alabama A&M, wear down this defense, where the depth is questionable. And so I'll break it all down, but I do want to say I know a lot of Bethune fans on my channel and on Scotty's channel on All Script have been talking about this new quarterback, Shannon Patrick, who's a transfer from UAPB, does look legit. I went and watched some film on him before I started recording. He looks legit. The only reason I'm picking the run game for the key is because there's nobody in the SWAC that wants to get into a pass-heavy shootout with Alabama A&M because you are probably, for the most part, going to lose that battle every single time you get into that. But I want you to look out for Marcus Riley, Daryl Powell Jr. as the top wide receiving options for the Wildcats if they so find themselves in this shootout. And I want to mention my X factor for the game, Kamari Everett. He's a huge tight end for Bethune. I love this kid. I was watching some film on him. He's legit a 6'6" matchup nightmare who has been a huge and popular factor for this passing attack in the first 2 weeks of the season. 8 catches, 105 and a touchdown, and he is going to be a red zone factor. And if they can scheme him in to some really, really good matchups, I think he could be one of the leading pass catchers for this Wildcats team this weekend. And for me, the running game was picked as the main importance because when I went back and watched the film on South Carolina State and Alabama A&M, establishing the run game is really the main reason they could have pulled that game off. But the reason they lost is because of the turnover battle. They had way too many turnovers down the stretch to beat an Alabama A&M team where if you give them extra possessions to short fields, they're going to make you pay every single time. South Carolina State rushed for over 240 yards and 4 touchdowns. If the Wildcats can replicate that this Thursday night, they're going to have a very good shot at pulling the Week 3 upset. But like I said, they got to keep the ball protected because Alabama A&M's offense is way too explosive. Your defense cannot be getting tired, cannot be getting worn down. So any extra possessions, A&M is more than likely going to put points on the board, and it's going to put so much pressure on your offense. And that's where Alabama A&M thrives, is when they have you in high-pressure situations, and then they can go out there and just play their type of ball. Keyshawn Bird was the leading rusher for Bethune the first 2 weeks. But for me, watching the South Carolina State game, you're going to have a second or third option emerge this Thursday. You can't just rely strictly on Bird. He's had 120 rush yards and a touchdown in the first 2 games. And I want y'all to look out for Aaron Thompson and Ladarian Wilson as some guys that can step in behind Bird and give some fresh bodies to Bethune as they try to wear down this defensive front for Alabama A&M. Listen, establishing the run does a few things that helps Bethune take advantage of this Thursday against Alabama A&M. One, they control the clock and limit possessions for Akil Glass in that offense. It keeps your defense fresh, and it keeps them fresher longer in the game. That way you can be playing your best football in crunch time, and Akil Glass is consistently under pressure and having to go against fresh bodies because that is how you beat them. And the less time you give Akil Glass with the ball, the less time those playmakers in him have a chance to go out and score. So if you can control the clock and limit those possessions, that just ultimately increases your chances of winning this game. Also, the problem with this Alabama A&M defense, the criticism all season has been they lack depth, especially in the front seven with some transfers that they lost. If you can run the ball and wear down this defensive front and chew the clock and keep them on the field all game, it's going to be crucial in late game situations when you really need to put points on the board and close out the game late, that it's going to give you the advantage, especially if this game is high scoring and you need to give your defense a rest. Wearing down their defensive front is the key to that. And then also, it opens up the play action for Patrick to get high percentage throws against the secondary. Now, they really and truly didn't play terrible. If you go back and watch the film, they forced a few turnovers. They were playing a kind of a bend don't break approach, and they were missing a lot of players on that defense. You're gonna want Patrick to have high percentage throws, not into coverage, and you want to set him up with a lot of play action. If you don't establish the run, Alabama A&M is going to be at in a slight advantage on that part. Now, the matchup to watch is easy. Alabama A&M's wide receivers against Bethune-Cookman's secondary. Because if you can't shut down the pass and you allow Akil Glasses to do whatever he wants, you're going to have a long day if you're Bethune. Now, the secondary has to put together one of their better performances that we have seen from Bethune, because in my opinion, this is probably one of the best wide receiving corps they're going to see all season. So you've got to bring your A game. Pay close attention to Amari Hill Robinson and Caleb Sutherland at the CB spots. They probably have some of the toughest jobs on Thursday night, stopping more on the outside, stopping Abdul as well. But also watch out for Henry Miller II and Devontre Hampton, who have been kind of rotational guys at the corner spot as well. They're going to have to keep fresh bodies, and a lot of those 5 wide sets that Alabama A&M runs, you're going to want to have fresh bodies in the slot. Now, Uriah Ratcliffe also needs to be an enforcer and a safety blanket in the middle of the defense against A&M. He plays safety, and he's got to protect the deep ball over the middle of the field, because if you give the middle of the field up to Akil, he's not going to be afraid to let it fly, and he's going to make you pay with big explosive plays. The wide receiving core for A&M is a problem for most secondaries. They're going to have to find a way to slow him down. It starts with Abdul, ends with Zabrian Moore, and both have been some of the best wide receivers in the SWAC over the past few seasons. Moore led the SWAC in receiving yards in 2019, also has been a SWAC All-American. Ibrahim was second in the SWAC in receptions in 2019 and was a first-team All-SWAC preseason selection this year. And my X factor in this matchup is Brian Jenkins Jr. and D. Anderson. Both of those guys are going to have opportunities because the defense should be able to scheme for Zay and Ibrahim. And so that will leave some opportunities for these guys to go make plays. Now, Jenkins actually did that week 1. He led the team in receiving yards with 115 and a huge touchdown. So look out for Brian Jenkins Jr. as someone who kind of takes advantage of those 2 outside guys being so dynamic. And the reason I picked this matchup is because Bethune has to try to limit the explosive passing plays, because those are the backbreaker and those are the momentum shifters, which is only going to feed in the issues of facing such a dynamic A&M offense. Nothing is worse than Bethune doing my key, running 11-play running drive, getting down to the red zone, getting a field goal, getting a touchdown. You chew the clock, you've run that big play, and then you give up 7 on a 1 or 2 play drive where you allow a big explosive play. You want A&M to have to consistently put together long drives. That way, it gives you more opportunities to force a kill into a mistake, force a turnover by the running back, get to a kill. You're going to want them, because you're going to want them to have to play a perfect game to beat you. If you just let them off the hook with explosive plays, A&M is going to put you in a bad situation. Now, for my official prediction, I think this is going to be an extremely close game early. I think both of these teams are going to put up some points. I don't see Bethune being able to shut down A&M's offense all game, but also I see Bethune being able to take advantage of this defense because they had a lot of players out week 1. The chemistry is not going to be there. I expect it to be a very, very high-scoring first half. But in the end, I trust Akil more than anyone else in the SWAC right now to go out and win me a game. I think it's going to be a one-possession game all the way to the end, and then Alabama A&M scores late to kind of drive that lead up. I have Alabama A&M 45, Bethune-Cookman 34 down there in Daytona this weekend. So, guys, comment your scores below. I want to hear what your predictions for the game are. This is my game of the week. So, Jackson State's playing UL Monroe, but this is the SWAC game of the week. So if you comment your score below and subscribe, if you hit the score on the dot, pick the winning team correctly, get the score correct, you guys will win the $30 giveaway we're running for our SWAC game of the week. Shout out to Allscript for the idea. So $30 giveaway if you predict the score right in the comments and you're subscribed. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. But I have Alabama A&M 45, Bethune 34. I'm so pumped for this Thursday night game on ESPNU. And if you're not one of our normal SWAC listeners, man, make sure to check this game out regardless of whatever team you root for, because there are going to be some amazing athletes on the field. And this is going to be an absolutely amazing game. But guys, subscribe, put a big thumbs up, and like this video, man. Definitely helps me out. And we'll be back with some more week 3 content starting tomorrow. We got 3 to 4 game previews every single day from tomorrow until Friday. So make sure to subscribe and tune in for that. But for right now, the Blue Bloods are out.